Welcome to another edition of Ask America Anything.
We've got our chai this morning.
Okay, to start off today, we have Encyclopedia, the one who asked about my thoughts on climate change. He said, wow, the last question on climate change really fired you up. I respect your views on climate change, but I'm not unsubscribing because your views may differ from mine.
Thanks
you for that. This time I wanted to ask you about your views on Alex Jones.
So, of course. I have no clue who Alex Jones is.
So as far as the responses on the climate change video, someone said, probably best left as a private convo with yourself in the shower and spare the wider world. He did give me a smile. He did give me a smiley face. Thanks for the smiley face. Yeah, you're probably right. I will be responding to some of the comments and questions and giving a formal apology to some of the people that got caught in the crossfire. There were people who got caught in the crossfire that were like, what are you talking to me? And I did not state I got into frant mode and was not very well articulating any of it. And so a bunch of people I threw a bunch of people under the bus. Section? Yeah, this one person from Mumbai was like, well, thanks for throwing us under the bus. I was like, I didn't mean that. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. That was not well worded or thought out. And that's the problem with stream of consciousness Ford rants. So I'll talk a little bit more about that on Friday and try to have a more measured conversation as opposed to a rant. And we can hash some of this out in a nicer
guys,
way.
The Friday frant is the frant. So
yeah,
that is kind of what it is.
But especially some of the things Chris Boscurry brought up in the comments, if you want to go see those, he wrote quite a bit and it made some really good points, and I wanted to respond to some of that especially and some of the others. So that'll come up on the Friday video. In the meantime, I did find this. I'll let you read it there.
This is me and my best friend Rose. Rose votes Labour. I vote Conservative. I assume this is British.
Yeah.
However, we have not let our political differences get in the way of our 16 years and counting of friendship. Be more like me and Rose. Very nice.
Agreed.
And there was that Jimmy Fallon, I believe. Jimmy Fallon did a great
really
bit
yeah.
where they had
common
conservatives
ground.
And liberals. Yeah, common ground coming together.
And that Heineken ad.
No,
that
the
Heineken ad is the best.
Ad is just the best.
I went out and bought a 6-pack of Heineken. I don't even like Heineken. I went out and bought it just like I'm paying for this ad.
If I'm ever like, I need some cheap beer, but I don't want to buy Pabst Blue Ribbon, then I'll buy Heineken because of their ad because it's just so good.
I'll link that in the description. That is just so fantastic. Good. You want to talk about people on the opposite sides of an ideological debate and very
meeting in the middle,
and people who are very invested in it. You got like a transgender person with a conservative person, and then they realize what's going on. They're like, oh, it's just great. If you haven't seen that ad,
once again, why the internet is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah,
we're really not necessarily person to person connecting on the internet, and so you can throw people under the bus easily because you can't do that face to face. Let's face it, most of us face to face are not going to rip into someone,
right? And
that's why face to face interaction is so important. To quote my favorite movie, You've Got Mail, in it Joe Fox always can come up with that zinger. But he says, let me tell you, the moment that you say what you mean to say, the moment you mean to say it, remorse inevitably follows.
Yeah.
So with the frant, this is the remorse that inevitably follows right here.
Of remorse.
This face.
Yeah, it's not a fun weekend. Okay, now better framing there. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, we'll try to do that. As far as Alex Jones, Melissa doesn't know anything about Alex Jones. She's totally in the dark. The best way I can explain Alex Jones to you, Melissa, is that he's Rush Limbaugh on meth to the nth degree.
Super scary.
Okay, so this is early. Now, a lot of people, I'm going to link this one in the description. I don't think a lot of people have ever seen this. This is Alex Jones in 97. I was still in high school, and he's on this public access TV channel. Just watch this.
Yes.
He's got a caller calling in.
I come on public access and hang out. I'm on 24 hours a day, they say.
Yeah, pretty close.
Well, I can
Okay, so he's not verging on, conspiracy theorist, super conservative, elements of libertarian, like anti-state, anti-big government kind of stuff. But he's a showman, and you can see it here early on. And so this is the thing that bugs me about what our media has become. On the left, it's turned into comedy, and on the right, it's turned into conspiracy theory. But this is a bit, this is a bit. Him sitting there carving a pumpkin. He's got all this stuff around for Halloween. Mm-hmm. This is show business. And, a long time ago, Neil Postman warned us that media was just going to turn into show business, and that's what video had brought to the table when it this unholy alliance of video and journalism, and we end up with this and now this culture where it's just one thing after another. It's just a new little dopamine rush. And so Alex Jones is just like that. He's just for, a totally different demographic. For every Stephen Colbert, John Oliver, etc., there is a not equal and opposite, because he's like thematically and stylistically way different, on the opposite side. But there is an opposite voice, So the mainstream media has been there. There was Rush Limbaugh. And now, the mainstream comedians are there, and there's Alex Jones. But, I mean, even his delivery style sounds like Rush.
Mm-hmm,
I mean,
very
doesn't
much
it?
so. Yeah. I'm like, I would stop listening after 2 seconds.
I don't listen to him or watch him. I think he's a living meme, and there are times he makes me laugh. I can't really tell if I'm laughing at him or with him. I don't think he's the answer to the problem, and
no, sitting around.
And in the same way that I don't think France are probably the
right,
answer.
exactly.
Thank you, Encyclopedia, for giving me the benefit of the doubt there. JK85 asks a question: what misconception about Indians changed after living in India?
It's hard to remember, actually, what I thought before going to India.
I think I just had this picture in my head of much more, I don't know, like sadhu, like everyone's going to be a sadhu. Everyone's going to be like super religious, like
that is a
meditating all
very
the time or something.
large American conception of India for sure. The spirituality, everyone's just doing yoga and meditation and
the industry, and I don't mean like factories. I mean just the work ethic, the busyness of people. Someone had asked like what it's like to be an American, and do you think Americans are overworked? I think the world is overworked, dude. Like I don't think it's just America anymore. I think that's. But I was, I guess, surprised by just the amount of work everyone still had to do in Delhi, especially. It just seemed like a rat race as well. So.
Oh, very much so.
So I think that's one of the things that surprised me. Unks SJC. Hi, Ford and Mel, been your follower a couple of years. Absolutely love the Surfing Violinist vlogs. I feel your pain or disappointment when I see stupid prank channels getting millions of subs in months. Nothing against pranksters. I really think you can and should get a little bit of USA-India politics and relations with help of recent news. Yeah, I don't know if I'm the person for the job. I might end up just becoming the American Indian Alex Jones, so maybe we shouldn't go that route. I'm trying to, discipline that side of my psyche and persona into something more constructive. I'm talking about just positive vlogs. Oh, and not even negativity. Oh, there you go. But that will give your vlog a chance to be noticed by Indians. Trust me, politics is super fun, and you just need to read a few top trends to comment.
Politics is super fun. That's
Philip DeFranco, one of the things I've admired about him is I feel like he's been more level in presenting stories, that especially in the YouTube world, than a lot of journalists do,
which is why when you write is so good, because then you can't you tame that, you tame the frant, and then you just get your your argument written out.
Yeah, that's true.
You're better in written form. You're
just,
less like
reactionary and
like a cobra with its fangs out.
Right.
When you write.
SR Dull asks, what's nationalism for an American? If you are a liberal, do you adore nationalism or discard it?
I feel like this has changed multiple times. Yeah. Like it used to be like, if you're Republican or conservative, then you're like gung-ho, American flags everywhere. And that's probably still the case.
Yeah, it's weird. Someone pointed out this week, there was another police shooting. A policeman shot this guy, and he wasn't armed. And one of these conservative ranters on Twitter pointed out, he was like, I don't really get how the same conservatives who are complaining about big government are also cheering on the police force in these sorts of acts of violence. Like, it does seem kind of odd that the same group, this is why I think our terminology just needs to be changed, because a person can be conservative and libertarian at the same time. It's like, wait a minute, this is confusing, because a libertarian is actually the one that believes in less government control. And what is the police other than a form of control? Like, I'm not going to trust myself. I'm going to trust the police to take care of situations. So, and then always just rushing to the police or soldiers' defense seems like a conservative attitude in this country. But the same conservatives complain about big government in other areas. Nationalism is weird, especially in America with the conservative stuff, because they'll be like, it's always patriotism about, war, and always patriotism about soldiers. You look at some of the wars we've been involved with, or the battles or skirmishes across the world, and you're like, is this really for the commoner's interest, or is this for some company or some political person's career? Like, why are we in that place? So I feel like nationalism is in this weird place. You got a lot of weird alliances between libertarians and conservatives and the alt-right, and this makes it very difficult for people who are on the left, the Democratic left, to identify with any of these people, because they see them all as aligning with white nationalists. And again, like white nationalism, and when it gets to its purest form of Nazism, what in the world is libertarian about that? Like, that's the most anti-libertarian thing. That's totalitarian control. Someone brings up something else in a minute. We'll get into it, and this kind of ties in.
Yeah. What is nationalism for an American? Typically,
4th
of July, fireworks,
the American flag, and celebrating the troops.
Support your troops. That is your stereotype.
Typical, of nationalism.
Painting with broad strokes stereotype.
Yeah. So Oname1 asked about thoughts on Aadhaar. I think, he brings up the common concerns there. Surveillance, profiling, tagging, tracking, insecurity, the database, national security posed by the creation of such data. I think we are not really the people to answer this question. We're not really involved in the Indian political sphere. 100 years ago, White Supremacy and Violence to Ban Indians from the USA, submitted by Shriv Ayush. So at the beginning, this guy talks about something called the Asiatic Exclusion League, which was formed in 1905 in San Francisco. Started out as the Japanese and Korean Exclusion League, and then became the Asiatic Exclusion League.
Interesting.
And basically it comes down to this white nationalist thing. Oh, we've got these Asians coming in, they're taking up our jobs, we need to rally against them. What that basically is a labor union. Again, the left loves labor unions, but it's pretty easy for labor unions just to be, I don't know. It's just like the left can only see groupings of power in terms of corporations, and the right can only see groupings of power in terms of government. Again, that is just a weird dynamic to me, but whatever. That's the way it is in our world right now, the left and right. The left says, oh, you got to watch out for corporations. They're going to pollute everything. They're going to tear everything up, and they're not going to have any accountability. Then they form unions, which end up not having accountability. And so you have another little group. So I feel like all we're doing here is avoiding the problem, which is centralization of power. So conservatives don't want the government to have centralized power, but then it forms in the form of a corporation. And then the left attacks the corporation, and then it forms in the form of a union. And unions have formed that have done this kind of thing. I mean, was this terrible that happened in America 100 years ago? Yes. Does this sort of sentiment still pervade today? Yeah. There are 3 million Indians living in America, though. So in this 1% of our population, I'd say, it's gotten a lot better over the course of the last 100 years. And just in the last 20, the Thackeray's in Mumbai and their treatment of immigrants from Bihar, this kind of stuff does happen all over the world. So it's bad. It should not happen. This is that form of nationalism, or nationalism in this case isn't even, well, in this case it's the right word, but it's this tribalism. It's this tribalism.
Yeah,
like, oh, these are my people.
Yeah.
Well, are they really your people? Really? Because they have the same skin color, or because, it's of economic benefit to you? Like, what is really the motivation here? Is it really heritage and pride and tradition, or is it just selfishness? And if you realize, if you band your selfishnesses together in a bundle, that your selfishness will beat the selfishnesses of somebody else. So, I just feel like it's just passing the buck. It's passing the personal responsibility on to some giant group. And, they do a good job in that movie, or that show, North and South. So that's a great BBC show, I think.
It used to be on Netflix. I don't know if it still is.
It's talking about the factories, factory workers and their mistreatment. But, they do a pretty good job of showing both sides. You've got the person who owns the factory. And even though everyone thinks that his life is this posh, grand, wonderful thing, it's extremely hard for him, too, because of the decisions he's having to make. These people decide they're going to quit. Well, there's one guy who can't quit. The labor union is like, we're not going to work. And so they all quit. Well, there's one guy who needs to be paid, but he can't keep working, or they're going to beat him up. Again, the individual is sacrificed for the needs of the group, whether, it's in a corporation or in a labor union or in the government. The greater good ends up winning out. Well, who's greater good? That's the question. I mean, we're just passing the buck of personal responsibility here. Like what is actually being accomplished in a lot of these formulations of groups. So that's not too bad of a front, though, right? All right, we've got one final question here from Sunny Sort. Thanks, Sunny. It's been a long time. Thanks for being part of the India Connection subreddit. So he mentioned a couple things, not really necessarily America or India related. Well, a little bit. There's a TV show and some music to talk about. One Punch Man. The anime features the ultimate powerful superhero who doesn't have any challenges. How is that show so interesting and keeps me at least, so engrossed in it? I think it's just really well written. It's really tongue-in-cheek. It's really meta commentary on superhero genre. I think I don't know, it's my favorite anime that I've ever seen. I haven't watched many anime other than Dragon Ball Z, so I really have a very shallow depth. But as far as comic anime, I think it's perfect. I think it's one of those I think anime in general can be way too episodic. Like, I've never been able to get into Naruto because it just seems like it goes on forever. So this is something that's nice and compact. I feel like people who aren't into Japanese animation can watch this and be like, oh yeah, that's great. It's a great cartoon. It's a great superhero show. It's fun. As far as music goes, Nine Inch Nails and Tool. So Melissa's gotten exposed to Nine Inch Nails recently.
We watched the newest season of Twin Peaks, and they make a cameo at the end of one of the episodes.
That's right.
There you go.
That's your Nine Inch Nails experience?
All I remember is okay, growing up, people listened to Tool and Nine Inch Nails. I did not, because once again, they were way, way too bad. I was not allowed. So I don't think I would have liked it anyway.
Probably not, no. Tool, I listened to when I was in high school. I had a surfer buddy, and we would go surfing on the way out. We would listen to Tool all the time. 46 and 2, over and over and over again. There's just Tool's command of rhythm is fantastic, and just offbeat. Just, I don't know. I mean, his lyric writing is provocative and thought-provoking often. So as far as why does it connect with certain people and certain people it doesn't, I think it's like Hemant Pandit was saying in that one thing about music, just having an ability to get around like ideology or objective thought and be more of truth unfolding, that sort of thing. Each one of us is different. We're genetically unique and we have certain experiences that no one else has. I know for me, there is this moment in The Fugitive, which is one of my favorite movies with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. And me and my dad would watch it a lot when I was in middle school. We just watched this movie over and over. So there's this one part where he's in a bathroom, like trying to escape. I think he's like changing his hair color or something like that. He's on the run. And the bass clarinet melody in this scene is, whenever I would hear it, I swear it like brought me back to some part of my life. Like I felt like there was this memory of something that I couldn't quite remember. It's like kind of hidden in the back of my mind somewhere. And that music would just always bring it up. The combination of the music with these shots, it just reminded me of some trip we took when I was a kid. And, it's just music has that ability. For me, it's Radiohead that does that the most. I will hear a song from Radiohead and I swore that I heard it 10 years before it came out. Like, it will remind me of some early experience in my life. It's like some weird time warp or something like that. And I think that's what timeless music does, and why certain music will last longer than others, that we'll keep listening to it later on because it hits at something that's more transcendent, is the word. And then Oname, there's some really good conversation here. So thanks to Oname, they call me Dank, and Sunny for keeping this conversation going down in here. Ralph Waldo Emerson states that things that cause a spark inside us are in some way rejected portions of our own ideas, ancient values, or some sort of ancestral memory. The response you get from the kind of music you like is not much different than what one might get from a religious sermon. It's a vibration, harmony, or sense of order, a feeling of coming home that appeals to something in the collective unconsciousness or indeed personal subconsciousness. You can learn to further appreciate these things, but empirical evidence suggests that the initial spark was somehow already there. So again, there's something about music that hits something special, and that's the kind of music that moves me. Is just stuff that you have a hard time articulating why it means something to you. On the last video, Zayed Al-Mohammadi said, America could learn from India that using water instead of toilet paper is more sanitary.
Ah, the age-old American-Indian debate. Our bathrooms are not set up properly to even allow us to try this. So bidets, right? Bidets are like kind of the European version. And so people are like totally getting into bidets. Like my boss, he's got 2 bidets in his house. I've never used them. But so they're like huge into bidets. So that is, right? Like there you go. The problem is that our bathrooms, we can't have sprayers or anything, because if you get water anywhere, it's just going to like ruin the whole bathroom, and you're going to mess up your flooring and get rotten wood and all that.
Yeah, Indian bathrooms are definitely better set up for water situation, really.
I mean, now here is the problem. I will tell you, here's the problem that I would run into, is that there was not always soap available in India. And so that's the thing. Like, sure, I could maybe say, okay, maybe it's more sanitary. But the thing is, if you don't give me soap afterwards, there ain't nothing sanitary about that.
And that's where I come down. Like, this is one of my problems, I guess, as an American, one of the entitled problems in terms of consumption. Like, I've used way too much toilet paper all my life. Yes. I'm like...
Which, now, he comes from his grandmother and his mother.
I'm extremely, like...
Totally...
wigged out about it.
Way germaphobes. Sorry. Yeah. Totally calling you out there.
Oh yeah,
that's to my mother-in-law.
Me and
she
my
knows.
mom.
She knows she's a germaphobe.
It's just too much, like this kind of absurd level.
Yeah, where you're like, whoa. And me, after becoming a mom and changing diapers, I'm like, oh, I got some poop on my hand. Whatever, it's just poop.
That's,
to
me, is like,
I got some pee on me. Whatever, it's just a little bit of pee. Like, move on. Wash your hands with water and soap and move on. And
it's like I pull out like hydrogen peroxide, bleach. I'm gonna pull out acetone. Rip my upper layer of epidermis off. No. Okay, so it is more sanitary for your anus. It is not more sanitary for your left hand. Are you kidding me? It's more it's so easy for you to get particles up underneath your fingernails. And I bite my fingernails nonstop. Yeah. I'm like, so no, that is never touching that part of my body. It's not going to happen.
So really it comes down to personal people. I can handle the germs, but you got to give me soap. He can't handle the germs
and then I just,
in any way, shape, or
hydrogen peroxide, alcohol, and acetone I'd wash my hands with afterwards, and I'd be okay.
You would live and you would survive and you would learn.
So this is where I'm the weak, entitled, like can't change American. This is that era. You have found me out.
Yeah, unless maybe if somebody bought us a bidet.
No, I don't know. I don't want to. And that's the other thing that just wigs me out, man. Like, I don't want water. So you got me, Zayad. All right. Well, thanks to everyone who's still here. Let's see. I'm just curious to see. Did I lose subscribers the other day? We've still had a net positive, but.
Hey, only 7?
Well, that's 7 in addition.
Wait,
so how many did we lose?
Over there.
No, it's not. That's the day.
We are not going to win any popularity contests. That is what we have to remind ourselves.
We only lost 9 subs that day.
Hey, it's not too bad.
Oh, well, thanks, guys, for not unsubbing to me because I'm a climate change denier.
People are consuming too much.
Yeah, and I'm consuming too much toilet paper, I admit it.
I'm thinking more of, like, vehicles. Yes, like, right, like, it's crazy what in 100 years the technology, so our technology has advanced so far and it's available to so many, so that yes, humans on the planet are consuming so much. So yes, they are destroying the planet, and yes, we need to come up with better, we need to rein ourselves in and live on less and consume less, and then we need to come up with better technology. All right, thanks, guys. And so, and until next time, keep it creative, cross-cultural, and constructive, YouTube. Thank you very much.
We'll see you Wednesday with another edition of the India Connection, in which we have our Dal Makhani, which Turned out even worse than our yellow doll, but
I know. Well, so, hey, some people gave us some yellow doll recipes.
yeah,
okay,
we got a lot of
here's
good
a
ones.
question. We keep calling it yellow doll. We call it yellow doll, obviously, for yellow. But, okay, it's also kind of like your
Turka
basic doll, your everyday doll.
Is Turka doll different from basic?
Right, Turka doll. So, actually, like, what am I supposed to call this?
Right, or there are different versions of yellow doll, I guess.
Right? So, I mean, our version is just your basic, your mix of lentils with garlic, onion, turmeric, chili,
tomato. The number one ingredient most people said that we should have put in was hing.
Hey, viewers out there with the immigrant/expat knowledge, what is hing in America?
I think they call it hing. I think asafoetida is the one that they were calling
Well,
it.
see, that's funny because neither of my cooks, neither Pinky or Sonia really used it. Sonia might have used it once or twice, but they didn't. I don't. But they didn't use it when making our everyday deli wally
right
doll. Answer that for me because I just keep calling it yellow doll. And I know there's something better I should be calling.
All right, so we'll see you Wednesday. Thanks so much for watching, sticking with us.